All right, what's up, guys? My name is Class. I'm a clinical psychologist, professional wrestler, and one half of the greatest tag team of all time, the Pretty City Express. Welcome to episode 4 of the mental side of wrestling. Before I get into the topic, I'm going to ask a question. Have you ever had a goal in mind? This could be anything gym related, work related, relationship related, project around the house related. Have you ever had a goal in mind and you've been working so hard towards that goal, but you get to a point where it feels like the harder you push, the harder you work, the further away that goal gets? Yeah, I think most people have, including myself, plenty of times. So the topic today that I'm going to talk about is the importance of mental recovery and avoiding burnout. And so this topic, I think, is extremely important in professional wrestling for a couple of reasons. First and foremost, there is no off season in wrestling. 24/7, 365. The off seasons come when you get injured or when you specifically try and take time off, but there are no scheduled off seasons in professional wrestling. Also important because, at least from my experience, a lot of emphasis gets put on the physical side, the physical recovery, the physical demand that wrestling takes on us. Not as much, from my experience, has been given to the mental side. And I'm here to argue that taking care of your mental health, taking care of your mental burnout, and making sure that doesn't happen as much or reducing that is equally as important as the physical recovery. And lastly, with that, I think wrestling has kind of the, for lack of a better term, the macho culture. And so it can be really easy to get caught up in, no, man, I got to keep grinding, got to keep going, got to keep going. Or even feeling guilty about taking an off day here or there. I've been guilty of that too, for sure. Like it's really hard for me to turn it off and do something that's unrelated, but I've noticed the benefits of that. And so that's kind of why I'm here to talk about it. And I hope that more people, find this helpful. Okay, so burnout, mental recovery. What does that look like? So a couple of things that you can watch out for are, here are the symptoms, right? Increases in like irritability, increases in brain fog or issues with attention, memory, concentration, emotional numbness. So kind of just feeling flat, right? You're not up, you're not down. It's just kind of like flat. You're in zombie mode or going through the motions. And the last one that's, I think, pretty important too to watch out for is not having a lot of interest in the thing or things that you really enjoy doing. Fancy term is called anhedonia, but essentially what that looks like is, if, let's just use wrestling as an example, if I'm super burnt out, wrestling is something that typically recharges my batteries and makes me feel joy. But if I was to get to a place to where I was really burnt out, it would feel like a struggle going to a show. It would feel like a struggle going to training, going to the gym. Things that usually bring me joy are not bringing me joy anymore. And so those things are symptoms to watch out for. One could certainly be present, but if all of them are present, then certainly burnout is very, very likely. And what can you do about it? So a couple of things that are really helpful, and I'll talk about my experience with what I do in a minute, but a couple general skills that are really helpful. Number one, first and foremost, is scheduling downtime or off days. So like for Devin and I, we've been on the road almost every weekend for about the past year. So we're like pretty darn new into this, and it's more relevant than ever. So for anyone who's been on the road for more than a year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever it is, this is going to be really important to know how to take care of yourself. So scheduling that downtime. That can look different for every single person who's listening to this. It could be getting away from social media. It could be taking a day off the gym and doing something different instead, some other sort of activity. It could be getting away from people and going up into the mountains. It could be a lot of different things. But the point is like, if you're all in on wrestling all the time, it's important to kind of take a step back. Not for a long time, but for little periods. And so an analogy that I liked that kind of helps describe this is, Imagine you hop in your car, you start driving, and you just push the gas pedal all the way down to the floor. You're gonna go fast, you're gonna get wherever you're trying to go quicker, but at some point, if you don't let off the gas pedal, that engine's gonna explode. And so it's important for us as wrestlers, as employees, as whatever, to learn how to, yes, push that pedal all the way down at some points, but when and how do I let off so that that engine's gonna run as long as I need it to, and I'm gonna not be burnt out, essentially. So scheduling downtime is one. Another one, like I've talked about in previous episodes, is any forms of relaxation training. These are really, really helpful because essentially it kind of like engaging in like breathing or meditation or mindfulness or any of those things, it kind of just like declutters our brain. And in wrestling, since wrestling's 365 24/7, that means our mind is kind of in that same pattern. And so it can be one thing to like shut yourself down physically, but it can be another thing to shut yourself down mentally. And that's what those relaxation activities are really, really good at, is putting us in that parasympathetic or that relaxed state and just giving us some time to be calm, be relaxed, and clear out the dust bunny, so to speak. Another strategy I really like, and this is one that I've really had to work on, is setting boundaries. So like I said, over the past year, Devin and I have really been on the road all the time. And so it's really easy if you're on the road, and then, all right, this weekend is open. My natural inclination is to try and schedule an activity with Danielle, with this group of friends, with that group of friends, and try to do everything I can and get it all in. And I tried that, and I did that plenty of times. And then I show up to work on Monday, and I am brain dead, I'm cranky, and then I go to training after work, and I'm like, oh no, that did not work. And so learning to set boundaries, learning to say no, and learning how to strategically do your things, your activities when you have an off weekend, is to not just further along the burnout and keep that gas pedal all the way to the floor. And so what I figured out, what I typically do on my off weekends is if I can, which is almost every time, I will go play a round of golf. I've got a group of friends that I golf with who I really enjoy. And then there's just something for me about being out on the golf course. In golf, if you don't know, is something that takes a lot of mental focus to be, at best, sometimes mediocre. And so I really enjoy it because it's something that's totally different than wrestling. It's something that requires a lot of my focus. It has an athletic component, and you're outside. It's well manicured. You're having a good time. You're having snacks. You're having drinks. You're just totally separated. And so that's something that I really make sure to get in on those off weekends because it helps recharge my batteries. And I had to learn kind of the hard way that for me, I'm someone who doesn't do as well just sitting on the couch and binging a show all weekend for my off time and my like reset. I've tried that, and I just go stir crazy, and it like works me up more than going golfing or doing something active. I have to be like moving, but I'm moving, being active, doing something outside of wrestling, and that helps me then come in to work Monday refreshed, and then go to training and the rest of the week for wrestling refreshed and ready to go. And again, any of this stuff is going to be different for everyone. I think the fun part about it is figuring out what works for you. And then once you figure that out, you have it. And then you know what to do. And you don't have to then worry about that anymore. And this is going to help not only in the short term, but in the long term as well. It's if you can learn how to pull your foot off that gas pedal and keep yourself from burning out, that's going to keep you more motivated, more consistently. That's going to keep you probably more creatively charged because you're not going to have that emotional numbness or that flat affect. You're going to be motivated to come in. You're going to be excited to come in and travel and do the different shows and want to do different things. And tying it into the physical part, if we're not burnt out, then we're probably going to be sleeping better. We're probably going to be eating more consistently, like on our diet or whatever that is. And therefore, mental recovery is then aiding physical recovery and ultimately helping us perform at a higher level. And so if you can learn, one, to watch out for those the signs of burnout, and then two, okay, what can I do to prevent it? Or if I get past that point and I start noticing some of those signs, what can I do to then dial it back and get back in my rhythm and back in my routine? So I hope this is helpful. Quick rundown, setting off days, whatever that looks like for you, doing relaxation training, setting boundaries, and any combination of those or all of those is just kind of a broad topics for you to start trying. In the comments, as usual, please post any questions you have about things you'd want to know more about. Please talk about what you do to avoid burnout, if this is anything you've experienced personally and what you've done about it. And then next week will be the final episode in the mental side of wrestling. I've got a surprise for that episode that will hopefully change this up a little bit and make it exciting. I think you guys will like it. More to come on that, but thanks for listening. I will see you guys next week.